So hello and welcome back to SJ Cartier Limited Convos. And today I'm gonna talk on a post and give kind of like a little bit of my insight into life in jail, let's say, because I was quite shocked to see this, but I'm actually not quite shocked to hear it actually happened. I saw this post today and it was by Your Rights Camp, and it says Sheqweeta Vaughan, a 32-year-old incarcerated mother, was found dead in her Georgia prison cell under conditions that suggested she had been unattended for hours. Despite officials' claims of recent checks, her family and advocates insist her death was preventable, pointing to her postpartum depression, lack of oversight and neglect from the prison system. And it's quite sad to think when I'm reading posts like that. So I'm thinking, I've been to jail and I know what it's like. I've seen actually how people have had their bell on and officers have left their bell, and then suddenly these people are hanging themselves in their cell. So being a person who's been to prison, it's quite a regular thing. Like, if you've been to prison, that's not much of a shocking news to hear this. If you haven't, it's overly shocking. But then that's the problem with us right now. The fact that some of us have been to prison and it's not shocking to hear this. Isn't that scary to think? An investigation. So I went to the Independent. Basically, I'm going to tell you as well. This is kind of how bad this is. Let's get her name correctly again. Sheqweeta. Because when I went here, it's so surprising as well that her name didn't pop up straight away. So look, that's my typing at the top, 'cause that's a recent one. Yeah, look, nothing. Google aren't even trying to, when you have suggestions, it's not even trying to suggest. Look, who's this that comes up before her? It's a misspelling. You get it? So these in prisons, and even now these things are still being hidden basically from us. So I'm going to read the Independent's little report. When was this posted? This was posted on the 17th of September. An investigation has been launched in Georgia after a female inmate's decomposing body was found in her prison cell. Sheqweeta Vaughan, 32, had possibly been dead for over 24 hours with a strong odour of decay coming from the cell at the Lee Arundel State Prison, where the temperature was reportedly in the 90s. So that's something that we have to consider as well. We laugh at it when we're in prison and we say, why is it in the winter the heatings and the pipes are not on, the heating's not on, and in the summer the heating's on? They're trying to psychologically break you down. That's why it's trying to psychologically break down your mindset and break your personality from the prison cell. That's why they do that. So with the cells being reportedly in their 90s, we just know there's no fans, there's no air conditioning, no support to keep these prisoners less overheated in a tiny cell, let's say. Abersham County Deputy Coroner Kenneth Franklin, who conducted an autopsy on Vaughan following the discovery of her body on July the 9th, said that the exact cause of death was undetermined. Well, just from hearing what I've heard already, I'd say the cause of death was actually the overeating cells that had no air conditioning, no windows to get enough air to breathe through, and possibly the fact that she was left in her cell dead for an hour, the fact that they don't check on prisoners regularly to make sure they are safe and well, especially when the conditions are like this. So if it's a normal day, you may only have to check every couple hours. You've got normal routines throughout the day, so you've got to keep hold of the prisoners that are out of the cell as well as the prisoners inside of the cell. On these over extreme days, we'd presume you take more precautions to check on the prisoners a bit more regularly. Come on, do it. Yeah. we'd like to think so. Franklin's report obtained the Atlanta Journal states that he was told by prison staff that they had checked on Vaughan at 10:08 a.m. and that she had been found dead at 10:40 a.m. However, the coroner said that he had arrived at 12:10 p.m. and believed that she had been deceased for 2 to 4 hours, though it was hard to be certain. But due to the temperature and humidity of the cell in which she was, it would have sped up decomposition considerably, making it difficult for an approximate determination. So she could have even been in there for longer than an hour. That's the upsetting thing. They don't even know, due to how hot it was and the humidity of the cell. It could have sped up the decomposition, but it also could have it's messed with their analytics to find out exactly the exact time frame. So they don't even actually know. The report describes the cell as being at a temperature in the 90s and that there was not a lot of ventilation. I think that's every prison cell right now. We could look around the world, and this is America, remember? So the fact that this happened in America, then we can consider the similarities to our prison cells in the UK. There's not much air in a prison cell. People say, oh, look how small the cell is. And they say, look how small the cell is. It's like you're living in a box. And think, living in a box like that with no ventilation, or you've got vents that don't blow no wind through, because it's a vent to let air in, but because it's double windowed and multiple windows and multiple vents, that air that is coming through that was restricted via one vent is already being de-restricted by the other vents and the windows behind that. So you actually ain't getting no air at all. Then the windows that actually open like normally, and you just open a latch, they open to about that much, and that's through the side, so you only get a side window. So imagine you're in a hotel and you can only open the window to a certain distance. That's like a prison cell, because that's how some of the hotels are, you know, like you've got them windows and you can only open to a certain space, and then that opens into another space that's actually a window with another window that blocks you out from like falling out or whatever the security measures are, I presume. Georgia State Department of Correction says that prisoners like Vaughan, who was being held in a segregation unit, and this is the key to it, she was in a segregation unit. She wasn't on a normal location where they can say we was busy on the wing. In a segregation unit, there's not as many prisoners in the segregation unit as there is on the wing. And that's in the UK, definitely. I presume it's exactly the same in America. And in UK prisons, I've been to segregation, as you may presume, numerous times, yeah, and I've done my stints in the block. If you have a look at some of my previous videos where I talk about prison and how it possibly actually made me very strong, even though it was possibly trying to break me down by whether I was doing charges and I got caught and I ended up in there. The process when you was in there was not to rehabilitate, it was kind of to break down your mentality and yes, punish you, but over punish you for your crimes. And when you actually consider that some of the people that actually didn't get the punishments as normal civilians on the wing, they were paedophiles and rapists. Those were the people that got speciality treatment, even if the prison officers didn't want to. So their wings were just completely different to a normal wing. Their food may get violated and may be the same, but their allocations is just different. It's completely different. It's completely different to living on a regular wing. That's why people that get bullied in jail end up on the wings with all of the wrong ones, because that's the safest place for them, and it's less forceful over there, let's say. Dr. Paul Uribe, a former chief of pathology of Fort Benning in Georgia, agreed that it had likely been much longer than that, due to the state of her body, perhaps even a day. So imagine that. She had possibly been in segregation for around 24 hours. 24 hours, imagine that. You are in a segregation, you only have a minimum amount of prisoners to take care of, and for some reason you have not been able to check on a one prisoner in this cell for 24 hours. 24 hours? What was you doing to get paid in those 24 hours? Because something you have to recognise, people in segregation blocks, officers, they only work there on their shifts unless they're called out to others because there's an immediate danger or issue around the prison. Other than that, their allocation is to stay in segregation. That's their allocation. So their only priority is segregation. So what was you doing in that segregation for all that time that made you miss that this person had been dead for possibly 24 hours? Wow. And the reason I'm not even going to read no more, because I think you're getting the gist of my point. You can go and check the news report and give it a little read yourself and let me know what you actually think, because for me, as I say, I've been to prison. If you have a look at my last post, went through all my 107 charges. Some people may say 108, 107, yeah. But if that's what's happening in prisons, and they're always talking about overcrowding in prisons, it seems like you're focusing on the wrong issue of the overcrowding. And in fact, you need to focus on the members of staff who are in there trying to rehabilitate. They are not police officers. The people have been arrested. They're not judges that sentence them to any time, extra time, unless you commit a crime in there. Their aim is to rehabilitate you and try and make you into what they class as a normal civilian. That is their aim. And their aim is also to keep your health and safety at utmost, because they are your guardian while they are in there. If there's a fight that happens between two prisoners, the staff on the wing are responsible for this. They have to answer to what issues had happened previously. They have to talk about what they saw. They have to file their own reports on what they know. And if they have seen issues building up over a certain time and they didn't move the prisoners, it is on them. Because their aim is to protect every prisoner from any type of danger. Any type of danger. That could be from themselves or from another prisoner. And as prison officers, we can't, as human beings, we know we can't always say, oh, that person's got feels a bit down and that person's feeling happy. We can't really tell what people are really feeling inside. So if someone is feeling suicidal, it's not always like we're going to be able to spot that. But I would say in prison, because it's such a controlled circumstance, you have a more opportunity to understand who may commit suicide, because you are watching around them every day. You are getting a better analysis than a psychologist who sees them once a week. Because you see them every day, you see how they react, you see how they come out to dinner, you see how they go to work, education, you smell them to see if they're showering, you see if they're eating, you see if they're participating with other people. You can tell, you go through people's mails, you listen to the calls, you have certain triggers when people are talking on the phones to flag up for drugs and phones and illegal activity. And presume you've got flags on those phones also for when people are feeling down, to give you an alert, oh, we need to keep an eye on that person. Because the focus then would be to rehabilitate, not to make them continue in the same recurring cycle. So if these people have come in with a drug habit, You don't put them on regular location where you believe there are a load of drugs regular for them to access. You put them on a wing where they stay away from anyone that is possible to take drugs. That's why you have the methadone rings, we call them, because that's where the smokers are supposed to go. Regular people are supposed to be on the normal wing. The VPs, the vulnerable prisoners they call them, are the PDFs, the assaultists, the rapists, those types of people go on the PDF wings. They call them vulnerable prisoners ring. And that's why they take more care with them. That's why they treat them with different levels of they treat them differently. Treat them differently because they class them as a vulnerable prisoner. Now this woman, I don't know her circumstances, I don't know what she was in jail for, I don't know why she was in segregation, and I don't know why they left her for over 24 hours. But it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable in America, and it's unacceptable in UK prisons. And I may actually do another video and give you a few more little prison stories that I've seen in my life, because as I say, I've been in segregation a few times, and I've been in variety of jails up and down the country, and it's not, what's the word? It's not peculiar to be in jail and find out someone's killed themselves. It's not peculiar. And the worst thing about it is, sometimes the ones that do it, they were asking for help. They were asking for help. And sometimes their asking for help was thrown down in their face, and that left them feeling like they had no help, because they are already in a prison where they feel segregated. They may not be able to talk to their family and friends when they need to. So these things all play on a person's mind when they are segregated in a block, in a cell, just a normal cell on a wing, let alone in segregation, because now you don't even get to socialize with other prisoners. In segregation, you are in your cell and that is it. It is you get possibly a chance to go on exercise, possibly a chance to make a phone call, possibly a chance to have a shower. These are the possibles you get. Other than that, you will just, because in UK prisons, this is why it may be surprising as well over there that it could have been over 24 hours. In UK prisons, every morning, the governor or a deputy governor or one of the governors has to come and check on every prisoner in segregation. The reason they have to check on them, they have to see if they are doing well. They have to find out whether they still need to be down there. There's a lot. They need to check on their health. They need to see with the prisoner officers and the prisoner themselves. So every morning, the governors go around segregation to every block with a couple officers and ask them how you're feeling today, give them an update on whether they need to stay there for longer, whether they know that or they don't, whether they may be going to normal location today, or whatever the changes are, whether they've got a nicking today that they've got to go and answer, and then maybe they may go back, how they've been behaving down segregation, how they feel segregation has treated them. That's what the governor's got to go around every morning. And not just that, the chaplains and someone from the religious team is supposed to come round every day and get to see the prisoners. These are things that are supposed to be happening in UK prisons. I haven't been to prison in over 10 years, so I don't know what life is in prisons now. But as I say, I've been going to prison from 16, 17, and I only stopped going to prison when I was 28, 29. So that's what, 17, 11 years? 11 years of in and out of juvenile, YOYs and main prison, like HMP prisons. So that's what I've mainly been into. Let's see what this is quickly. So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, it's Jane. I'm calling about your O2 account. How are you?
I don't actually have an O2 account. I'm a bit confused why you think I have an O2 account.
My apologies, you must be on one of O2's virtual networks.
I've
Qualify for
never
our
had
special
O2.
deal. Can you confirm if you are employed or self-employed?
I am about to die next week. I don't feel the best, you know. So you may have to remove me because this line will be gone because my life may not be here next week. And I don't have O2 at all.
I'm really sorry to hear that. It sounds like you're going through a tough time. If you don't
Um,
have an O2 account and don't wish to proceed, I'll make sure to note that.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything else you need right now?
No, I just need you to take me off, thank you. And yeah, not bother my family when my life is not here no more. Thank you.
I've made sure your number will be removed from our records. I'm truly sorry to hear about your situation. Take care.
Okay, bye. And this is what you get all the time. Stupid people phoning you because people want to hand out your numbers or people work in places where they can harass you. I just play games with them and just chat and see how long they want to stay on the phone for. And then actually the next thing to do is block, report, block and report. You know what I mean? But yeah, back to real life. I haven't been to jail in over 11 years, as I said, over 10 years, nearly 9-10 years, and I went to jail for over 11 years. And in the variety of segregation units, prison wings, prisons I'd been to, all prisons have that same mentality where they aim to break you down, and prisoners do as much as they can to try and make their time as more bearable as possible. Yes, they understand they've committed a crime. That's why they know they can't go anywhere. That's why they know they can only have canteen at these times. So yes, some people may complain, oh, they have phones, they're trying to get drugs, all these things, and these are things that sometimes could stop somebody from killing themselves. Just actually speaking to a family member one day, actually being able to smoke a cigarette today. These are things that can actually save a prisoner's life, as well as little things, the things that should be standard. So those are the things that you as a regular person will say, oh, you don't need that. But then as a prisoner, shouldn't we have the support of prison officers? Shouldn't prison officers be doing their job and taking care of our safety and our well-being while we are in there? Because here we didn't see that, and I haven't seen that in a variety of places. Yes, you get good prison officers, don't get me wrong. There's not every prison officer is the same. Not every prison officer is gonna what's the word not do their job, if that makes sense. Some prisoners are very good at their job. Prison officers are very good at their job. Some prison officers have saved people from dying, but that's not every one of them, and some of them could have. Every prison officer now who's been into the prison system for, I'd say, 5 years plus, they've heard of some type of suicide attempt or suicide happening while they've been in that prison. And that's quite shocking. And some people may say I'm throwing stats out my head, but then we can go and let's have a look at the suicide rate. Have a look at all the suicide rate in prison. Find them out for yourself. Average that out over 12 months with the amount of prisons there is. And remember, not every suicide is reported. Remember, not every suicide attempt is reported. So let's kind of focus on that story and kind of let's give you a little show of her again, because I think she deserves to be remembered, because it's quite sad. I've been to prison, innit, and as I say, you go through times in prison where you have to kind of like be strong in yourself. As I said in one of my videos before, prison's actually made me a strong man now, and it allows me to defend myself and stand up for myself and not allow any kind of online stupidness to mess with my psychological self. I have my opinions, and my perceptions are just going to come as they come day to day. They're not what's the word? They're not just going to stick there. So I'm going to end with just showing you, let's kind of remember her name, Sheqweeta Vaughan. Rest in peace, and I hope your family get exactly what they're looking for, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day.